I am thrilled to introduce our next Hall of Fame inductee, Linda Perry. It seems that everyone knows Linda, but let me give you a little bit of background. Linda graduated from the University of Michigan with distinction and held several vice president positions at Michigan National Bank and at Citicorp. She then served for 17 years at Visa Inc. For most of her career there, she was senior vice president and head of acquirer and processor sales for the US. In that role, she established and developed a department to manage Visa's relationships with its member bank acquirers, third-party issuing and acquiring processors, software vendors, and independent sales organizations. She also served in her career as a vice president and regional manager of member relations at Visa. Since her Visa days, Linda created and managed 2 global acquiring conferences, both in London, and ran a strategic payments consulting practice that advised merchants, processors, and acquirers. She's currently an advisor to Digits, a company that provides merchant processing for software platforms. Linda served for 13 years on the ETA board of directors, providing invaluable insight into Visa's views of the acquiring world, and most importantly, promoting the acquiring perspective inside of Visa. Much of Visa's appreciation of acquirers and ISOs during that time was really due to Linda's perspective and advocacy of the ISO and processing world. It's absolutely no exaggeration to say that in those early days of ETA, trying to gain a foothold in the eyes of the card brands, it was Linda that gave the ETA legitimacy. The industry has recognized her significant contributions by awarding her the Mover and Shaker Award, MWA Lifetime Achievement Award, and Most Influential Women in Payments Award, not once, not twice, but 3 times. In addition, Linda is co-founder of Women's Network in Electronic Transactions, or WNET, and continues to contribute to WNET as a member of the board of directors. It is through her 15 years of tireless dedication to that organization and to her ceaseless promotion and mentoring of women in the industry that have improved the lives of so many of us. Her work on the ETA board and with WNET exemplifies how Linda has been, throughout her career, a real role model for both men and women on how to work and lead with integrity. All of us who have had the pleasure of working with Linda know her unsurpassed strategic thinking and her uncanny insight into what makes this industry tick and the issues of most concern to it. I've personally worked with Linda for over 20 years, first on the ETA board of directors and then as a co-founder of WNET. So I can say from personal experience that she is a leader of the highest caliber. Linda has the unique talent of hatching an idea, motivating the people around her, and putting in the hard work necessary to bring it to successful fruition. It's Linda who conceived and produced those 2 international acquiring conferences. It's Linda who brought the acquiring world perspective into Visa. It's Linda who continues to bring fresh, relevant content to WNET events. Her influence on the many organizations she has worked with create an enduring legacy in the payments industry. So it is my great honor to present Linda Perry as the next Hall of Fame inductee. Linda, please join me.
Okay, I learned a long time ago, when you come with props, it's more interesting. So this is a bag, and in really good shape. You can see it, ETA, 2002, Visa sponsored, from where were we? Seattle. I don't know how many people were there. Anybody remember Seattle? Yeah. Anyway, I thought, when I found that in my garage, I thought, that is a classic and needs to be seen one more time before we donate it to Goodwill or somewhere else. I need glasses to do this. First of all, thank you very much to the ETA for the award. I'm really pleased and I'm honored and surprised and excited, and I have real shoes on today, so it's a big deal for me to get out here and dress up. This group is 6 women and 4 men. Just let that sink in. So, I've been around a long time, and I am thrilled that the industry has recognized the achievements of all of these other fellow women and the men. And most of these people, other than Frank McNamara, who I did not ever meet, were people I know that I've worked with over time. And Visa gave me that great opportunity to work with a lot of different people. So I respect my fellow honorees and know them well and congratulate them as well. So when I was thinking about this and somebody said, oh, you can speak for 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, only 5? But so, how do you get in the Hall of Fame? I started thinking about that. How in the world did I get to where I am now, other than being retired? When I graduated from college, I became a teller because there were no teaching jobs. And my husband, who's a fairly new husband at the time, said to me, well, why don't you just walk across the street and get a job at that bank on the corner? We only had one car. He was taking it to work. I had to walk to the bank to work. So I did. I got a job at the bank. I became a teller. I knew nothing else. I mean, it was the Vietnam era. I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. There were no jobs for tellers, for teachers. And I had no idea what was going to happen at that point. But what I am sure is that the people who hired me didn't have any idea who I wanted to be or who I was. They didn't know if I had ambition or potential. I didn't know I had ambition or potential, frankly. I certainly do now that I'm an old, tough cookie, but I certainly didn't know then that I had that. And this is sort of my message. But I worked for people who gave me a chance. They gave me a chance to improve my knowledge. They gave me a chance to move around the banking industry. I worked for a bank for 11 years. I had product management. I went to sales. I didn't know anything about selling. I went to treasury management. It was a brand new thing. We called it cash management in those days. I started working and building product and selling. I had no idea. And then somebody in the bank, a guy named George Boersma, a terrific guy, said, hey, we have this job as a VP. I was a VP already, but they said, you have a job as VP in the bank card merchant division. And I think you should apply, and I think it's a great job for you. And I think he might have been running that division. And I said, okay. I knew nothing about bank card. Nothing. And when the largest customer we had was Kmart. Now, how many people remember Kmart? Really, somebody is old enough to remember Kmart. So Kmart in those days had imprinters at every single station, and they had paper bulletins. Anybody remember? I'm not even going to ask the question. Paper bulletins. So all I knew was sort of, they called up, and then they imprinted, which I refuse to call it a zip zap. Those of you who call it a zip zap are too young, and that's shame. Shame on you. It's an imprinter. So that's all I knew. And we had branches, and so people would show up with deposit tickets. Remember that? They would have to bundle them up and take them in. That's where you sort of start the business. It's so different now. It's unbelievably different now. But I had a good boss who took the time and took the chance on me to say, she's smart enough, she'll figure this out. And I had a lot of help, but he did. So thank you to George, because it worked out pretty well for me in the end, I thought. So there's some planning, but mostly it's hard work in any business, I think. So I also have to thank those other mentors, because I want their names out in the universe. One is Dave Lind, who Holly knows because we worked at Michigan National Bank concurrently. Dave was a terrific boss. Again, he just had faith in me. He just took a chance. He was, helped me through the career. And then there was Rob Robbins, who many of you, when I went to Visa, many of you probably remember Rob. He was a character. He was a big character, but all he knew was sort of merchant stuff. And he hired me because I knew acquiring, and he thought maybe that was important at Visa in those days, and it was, I thought. And so I had a lot of ideas. I always have a lot of ideas for things. And so I went to him with a ton of ideas. We need to do this for acquiring. We need to do that for acquiring. We need to talk to acquirers. I need a staff. And he said, okay. He had no idea. He had no idea. He didn't even know he had a tiger by the tail, I don't think. I think he just thought, well, this girl will come over here and help us out with acquiring stuff. So you know, you can't thank those people enough, and I think there's a message that I'll get to here. I also want to thank, by the way, the staff, and one of Matt Price is here. Matt and Tom, some of you guys know them, Jackie, Pete, Sherry, and Phyllis, who all work for me. So I hired this very disparate team, because they all had skills that, frankly, I didn't really have, and put them together, and they did a great job, and they helped me. So they helped me be able to take my ideas to different spaces, travel around the world, and build the acquiring business. And I'm forever grateful for them because, frankly, they did most of the work. And if Matt hadn't done my budget every year, they would have probably taken it away from me, because I don't really do budgets. So I'm grateful to Matt for his budgeting skills. Here's three things I just want to kind of, as I have an opportunity to leave you with, that I think are important, because some of you I know, some of you I don't know. It's my minute to sort of do it. Always maintain your integrity. Number one, always maintain your integrity. You know, in the early days of the BSA, we were around, there were some people with not as much integrity as some people have today. But, you know, we fixed that. We changed that. We brought people into this business who wanted to be real players and do this right. So do that. Build strong relationships in this industry. That's what this network is about. That's what my network, all you who are my network, that's what it's about. Build these strong relationships with people. They're critical, they're important. You can't shorten what you think about your network. It's important to everybody. And then finally, respect everybody. Respect each other, respect your clients, respect the vendors, respect the competitors. Garrett Kirkstra, who is at MasterCard, and I used to sit together at ETA events, and we would sit there and say, you know, do you think people are talking about us? Because we're competitors and they think we shouldn't be friends. Like, no, we're friends. I mean, business is the business, but we respected each other, and that was what was important. So, you know, it's okay to have big dreams and plans. Don't be afraid, and we tell this to the women in the WNet, don't be afraid to apply for jobs that you're not quite qualified for, but you know you can do. It's just critical. Men don't always think that way. Women definitely, or men do think that way. Most of the time women don't. So, you know, this is a great industry. It's been really generous and wonderful to me. I just want to say thank you again. And finally, please give people who work for you a chance to be greater than they are and to take on roles that they deserve and should do for you. So that's my final closing things. But thank you very much for that. And if you'd like to touch the bag from 2002.